Well, this is the third or fourth time I started this video, so I think I'm going to make it short and sweet. We were on the way to that family activity last night, and we saw what was probably a traffic fatality, a main highway where someone had gone directly off the road, directly down an embankment in a minivan, and hit squarely in the middle of the front of the minivan with hit a tree. I can't say it. Poor people. It was an awful thing, and I was wondering if it was preventable. It looked like it was probably a traffic fatality, more than likely, and the emergency vehicles were there. Just looked like they were just getting down the embankment to try to help. But if there's something you can do to prevent someone being a victim in an accident like this, whether it's falling asleep at the wheel or being under the influence of alcohol or drugs, we would all much rather take the course of prevention than to rather than to suffer that kind of grief. Somebody is really suffering some terrible grief today. If you're the parent of teenagers, find out how many kids are going, who's driving, what kind of a vehicle. It's better to cut down on the number of teenagers if you can in a vehicle, because statistics show that there's more trouble as far as accidents are concerned. If you get a group of 6 or 8 or 10 kids in a vehicle, well, you could do that with a 15-passenger van. They're probably not going to behave like they would during a job interview or in church. And so you've got an inexperienced, maybe tired, distracted driver behind the wheel, and it may not be a good idea to do that. It might be a better idea to break them up into smaller groups, offer to pay for gasoline for the second vehicle. If they're going to be out late at night, have them all spend the night at one house. If they're going to be traveling, it might be a better idea to, I would much rather fork over a couple $100s for a hotel room than I would face the grief and the expense. If you just even want to look at it from an expense point of view, it's a lot cheaper to pay for a hotel room than the alternative. If there were tired drivers at the wheel, always consider the road conditions. We had perfect road conditions last night. It was clear and dry and no wind, no rain, nothing. It was perfect road conditions, and somebody drove their vehicle right off the side of the highway, straight down an embankment, and smack into the tree. And my other person in my vehicle told me that the tree was red. I didn't see that. I saw the front of the minivan kind of wrapped around the tree with a big indentation in the middle of the minivan. That's far enough in to move the engine. I don't even want to think about the consequences of that. Please be safe rather than to be sorry. Please use caution. Please be prudent when it comes to traveling, yourself or your family members. Make sure you have vehicle safety checks of some sort or another from time to time. A low tire can cause a lot of problems. We go to an oil change place that checks our air pressure. It's rather than to pay for the standard oil change, I pay a few extra bucks for them to check all my fluids, my brake. So I want to know my brake fluids up to snuff, so I'm not having problems with that issue. But it's a good thing to have the tires properly inflated. It can greatly change the way a vehicle handles. We happen to have an Astro van. It sits up high. I would not like to think about what would happen if you were swerving to avoid a deer with the center of gravity like it is on one of these vans. I would not want to swerve suddenly and severely. It's a great vehicle, and I don't know any of the particulars as far as the science behind it is concerned. But please, if you need to spend the night, spend the night. If you need to cut down on the number of people, do that. If you need to have 2 people switch off driving, take turns every 20 minutes to keep alert, do that. If you need to stop and sleep a while, do that. If you need to check into a hotel, it's cheaper than a funeral. A little caffeine is not a bad idea. I don't know if I'm repeating myself because I made this video 3 different times, but please use caution, and please don't be afraid to say no to young teenagers. It takes a lot of experience to turn a young teenager into a seasoned driver. That doesn't happen overnight. They need a lot of hours on the road. They should have a lot of hours on the road before they get their driver's license. They should have a lot of hours with a parent on the road before they get their driver's license. In our state, they have increased the length of time driving permit, they call it a level 1 license, I think, is issued at 14 years and 9 months old, and then they get a restricted license at 16, and then at 17 they get full privileges where they don't have a curfew. And then if they continue onward, they keep that privilege. If they have problems after the 17th year, they can lose the privilege as well. So just train your kids, train your kids to drive and spend a lot of time training them. Spend a lot of time on the road with them and do everything that you can to keep the driver awake. I'm reasonably certain that that was a fatality that we saw last night. I'm reasonably certain that it was preventable. It's a sad thing, but prevent tragedy and sorrow wherever you can, and use wisdom, because when your body is traveling at 70 miles an hour in a car and it comes into contact with something, the car, the vehicle, the van, whatever comes into contact with something that stops the vehicle, your body's still traveling at 70 miles an hour until it hits something that stops it. So it's not a pretty picture. Airbags are helpful, but they're not the do-all, be-all, end-all. God bless you to have safe travel and to use wisdom, and please forgive me for stating the obvious. Thank you.